Russian troops attacked the city of Kharkiv with UAVs, targeting a municipal transportation facility in the Slobitsky district. 2 women suffered acute stress syndrome, another was injured. According to the regional prosecutor's office, the depot was hit with 8 UAVs, damaging the building and at least 38 trolley buses.
They destroy everything, one after another. They don't care, come on, they can't be doing things like that to people. This is horrible, just horrible. I don't have any words. Why are they doing this? Do they think we don't want to live?
Windows in nearby residential buildings were also damaged. According to preliminary data, Russian troops used Geran-2 UAVs to attack the city.
Only the lights inside were damaged. I'm waiting to connect to the power line now, head on my usual route and continue working.
The Kharkiv region was also targeted by Russian drones overnight. 8 people, 2 children among them, were injured in the attack. In the Kyiv district, Russian troops conducted a combined missile and drone attack, damaging at least 10 private houses, outbuildings and a farm. In the town of Izmail, Russian drones hit a humanitarian aid warehouse. Ukraine's 413th Raid Battalion, part of the Unmanned Systems Forces, detected and struck one of the more advanced electronic warfare systems in the Russian military, the RB-301B Borisoglebsk-2, from 70 kilometers away. This is according to the battalion's official Telegram channel on May 29. This system is designed to conduct electronic surveillance and jam various communication, control and navigation systems. It is commonly deployed to counter unmanned aerial vehicles, making it a strategic asset on the battlefield. Russia is dragging out the war and doing everything it can to deceive the countries still trying to influence Moscow with words rather than pressure. This was stated by the Ukrainian president in his evening address on May 29, who underlined that words don't work with Moscow.
Even the so-called memorandum, which they promised and allegedly spent over a week preparing, no one has seen it yet. It has not been shared with Ukraine. It has not been shared with other partners. They haven't even shared the new agenda with Turkey, the country that hosted the first meeting, although they promised the exact opposite. And above all, they promised it to the United States, to President Trump. Another Russian deception. They are doing everything to ensure the meetings are meaningless. And that is yet another reason why there should be sufficient sanctions, sufficient pressure on Russia.
The Turkish foreign minister, Hakan Fidan, arrived in Ukraine on Friday. In Kyiv, he met with President Zelenskyy and the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak. On his Telegram page, Zelenskyy stated that during the meeting they discussed diplomatic efforts, Ukrainian as well as its partners. He also underlined that Russia is ignoring all the international appeals for a ceasefire and continues to kill. Earlier this day, during a joint press conference with his Ukrainian counterpart, Andriy Sybiha, Fidan stated that Turkey fully supports the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The country is ready to host the second round of talks between Kyiv and Moscow, added Fidan.
We are focusing on ending the destruction and human tragedy caused by war, rather than where the negotiations are held. We believe that it is possible to hold the next round based on the principal decision taken by the parties in Istanbul. Therefore, I would like to express here in your presence once again that we are ready to host the follow-up talks.
At the same press conference, Sybiha stressed that Ukraine has already passed on to the Russian side its vision of further steps and peace efforts, in particular regarding the parameters of a future ceasefire.
We are also waiting for a memorandum from the Russian side, as previously announced. We are waiting for it in advance. In order for the next planned meeting to be substantive and meaningful, it is important to receive a document in advance, so that the delegation that will attend has the authority to discuss the relevant positions.
Fidan arrived in Kyiv after a 2-day visit to Moscow, where he met with the Kremlin leader Putin as well as the Minister of Foreign Affairs Sergei Lavrov. A post office branch was completely destroyed in a Russian drone attack on Izmail, located just across the river Danube from NATO member country Romania. According to the regional governor of Odessa, the town was targeted with attack UAVs. A fire broke out at the site, which was later extinguished by rescue workers. There were no reported casualties. The US President Trump hopes for direct talks between Ukraine and Russia to take place in Istanbul next week. This was reported by the White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt during a press briefing on May 29. When asked if there will be a US presence at the negotiations in Turkey, she underlined that she will inform journalists if Trump plans to send a representative.
We believe that meeting is going to take place, and that is a meeting the president encouraged and urged for these two sides to come together and negotiate directly. And the president has been clear from the very beginning of this conflict that he wants to see this conflict solved on the negotiating table, not on the battlefield. And he's told that to both leaders, again, both publicly and privately. So hopefully next week it will move the ball forward in this.
Meanwhile, according to Le Monde, the head of Ukraine's presidential office, Andriy Yermak, stated that Ukraine is ready for the meeting with Russia in Istanbul on June 2nd. However, he emphasized that Kyiv seeks a constructive discussion, meaning it is essential to first receive the Russian memorandum before proceeding to the next round of negotiations. Ukraine's State Emergency Service has received 16 Deep Tracker Revolution drones to support underwater demining operations across the country, the Ministry of Economy announced on May 30th. The remotely operated drones, designed for mine detection in both freshwater and maritime environments, were procured by the United Nations Development Programme. Equipped with 4K cameras and dual sonar systems, the Deep Tracker drones enable precise underwater inspections. According to the ministry, 31 certified diver demining specialists have completed training with the new equipment and will soon begin full-scale operations nationwide. Approximately 13,500 square kilometers of Ukraine's rivers, lakes, and other waterways are potentially contaminated with mines and unexploded ordnance. NATO enlargement is beneficial to Russia's security, stated the Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky. Where Russia borders the alliance, there is no war, and where it doesn't, there is, he wrote on his X page on May 29. Lipavsky made the comments following recent remarks by the US Special Envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, who described Putin's concerns about NATO's eastward expansion as fair. Since September 2023, North Korea has transferred approximately 20,000 containers to Russia, carrying an estimated 9 million rounds of ammunition, 100 ballistic missiles, and over 200 heavy artillery systems. These numbers were shared by South Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, reported Yonhap News. The volume of military supplies is sufficient to fully equip 3 Russian brigades. Deliveries were conducted using Russian military transport aircraft in November and December 2023. Meanwhile, Russia reportedly provided North Korea with technical data on missile specifications and support to improve guidance systems. Moscow has also delivered air defense systems, electronic warfare equipment, and other forms of military assistance to Pyongyang. Since November 2024, Russia has reportedly transferred at least 1 Panzer air defense system and a corresponding combat vehicle to North Korea. The newest Russian jet drone was eliminated by a missile system developed by the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. This was reported on the DIU's Telegram channel. The mobile anti-aircraft missile system, equipped with R-73 missiles, was developed with the support of foreign partners. It successfully repelled an overnight Russian drone attack in the Odessa region on May 29. After the Russian drone was detected, likely a Dan-M, the Ukrainian Defense Forces destroyed the UAV, sending it crashing into the Black Sea. Ukraine will receive almost $3 billion from Japan under the Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Mechanism, funded by profits from frozen Russian assets. This was announced by the Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal following a government meeting on May 30th. He confirmed that the funds would be directed towards financing priority budget expenditures. The ERA mechanism, supported by G7 countries, aims to provide Ukraine with a total of $50 billion, sourced from profits generated by frozen Russian sovereign assets. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, is calling on the United States to sanction Russia if Moscow confirms that it is not ready for peace. This was reported by the French BFM TV. Macron was questioned by journalists about the possible second round of negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow while he was traveling to Singapore. Macron reportedly called on the US and Russia to take responsibility, adding that he'd had a call with Trump 48 hours earlier in which the US president had expressed his impatience.